Oh. Why are you guys... Oh. Is it time for another prompt already? Okay, well, I mean, let's see which booktuber's next.
Hello everyone, my name's Cliff, and this is my channel, Cliff's Dark Gems. And yeah, I'd just like to say a huge thank you to Danny for including me in this scavenger hunt. And yeah, as you guys can see from my bookshelf behind me, yeah, in my channel I almost exclusively talk about horror. But in the last 2 or 3 years, I've been a booktuber for almost 3 years. I've spoken a lot about fantasy and science fiction as well as historical fiction. Now I like to kind of test my boundaries, and I'm reading from other genres. For example, I think it was last year, the year before, for Garb August, I spoke about Shadow of the Sheik, which is a romance. It's a genre I normally kind of don't have anything to do with. It's a shapeshifter romance. I kind of enjoyed it. Kind of fun for what it is. And so let me give you my prompt. My prompt is challenge yourself. Read a book completely outside of your comfort zone. A book from a genre you have been avoiding. For example, horror. But let's say if you avoid something like crime or mystery, yeah, whatever, even romance, just read something different out of your comfort zone. So yeah, everyone, that's me. Take care, have a good evening, and cheers.
Oh, Cliff. I wish that horror in this instance was a genre that I considered myself to avoid, because I would pick it up in honor of your channel. However, since I can't do that in the fairness of the prompt, I am going to pick up something I do think you would be happy with. So on my TBR, what I'm saying for this prompt is a nonfiction, which I do avoid like the plague, but that is The Obituary. It's the Big Hot Book of Death, I think is what the full title is, and it's about death culture, which I still think is in honor of your channel in some ways. So hopefully in the month of November, I will be able to get to this book that is featured around death and the culture surrounding, I think it's in North America, but they might travel the world as well. It was originally based on a podcast by the two authors. And so I'm excited to get to this one. It is one that's been on my list for the entire year of 2025, and I keep not picking it up. So maybe Bucket Listathon will make me. I did want to give you guys some recommendations for this prompt. If you have some genres that you are not familiar with, I figured I would stick with the genres that I am most comfortable with and just tell you guys some books that you might want to pick up if you're a new reader to those genres and you're just not quite sure where to go. So I'll start with sci-fi, since that's the book I have on top. And I think a good beginner book for sci-fi is Starter Villain. This is a funny book. It's kind of an odd look into the life of this man who is, he inherits from his estranged uncle, who he realizes was involved in some nefarious things, and he gets himself into quite a bit of a pickle. He doesn't quite know how to handle what he's doing. His uncle was in charge of some things that he doesn't have any business being in charge of. There are also, with the sci-fi aspect of it, there are talking animals and things within this world that have been helped by the use of technologies and things like that. And so I do think that this is very fun. I think it's very light sci-fi for sure. So if you are worried about the heavy sci-fi, heavy science, this definitely does not do those things. It does have some pretty fun tropes though on like classic villain scenes, which I find very funny. And there's also some just awkward scenes at the beginning that I loved. So hopefully this will give you a little bit of a push to pick up a sci-fi. I also had to throw in a fantasy if you are not typically a fantasy reader, but you want something that maybe leans into fantasy but feels grounded in the real world. I would say The Magician's Daughter is one that you could pick up. It's very sweet isn't the right word, but it's nostalgic for me as I was reading it. A lot of H.G. Perry's works do kind of feel that way as I'm reading them, but this one follows our main character, whose name is Biddy, and she, when she was very young, was abandoned on an island, and it is the only magical island in existence because magic has been slowly depleted from the world, and she has always been guarded on this island by this magician who lives in the only place that magic still is really present within the world. There are little bits and pockets, but they are for the very privileged people in the real world, and Biddy doesn't quite like the fact that she is stuck on this island all of the time. Rowan, the magician, leaves every evening to go and get some supplies from the real world, and Biddy wants to go with him, and he doesn't want her to go. But one night, Rowan doesn't come home, and Biddy has to decide if she's going to venture out into the real world to save him or if she's going to stay on the island. It's very sweet in regards to their relationship between Biddy, Rowan, and the familiar of Rowan, whose name I can't remember, but he's this bunny character, which I really loved. And it is grounded enough in the real world that if you are not a fantasy reader, I don't think you're going to get bogged down with world building or, you know, having to learn a magical language or anything like that. I think it's very much grounded in our world. Lastly, the other genre that I am semi-comfortable with is horror, and I do have a recommendation that I think would be good for most beginners, and that's The September House. I think that this is very, I don't want to call it camp, like camp horror, but I do think that it is kind of silly. It doesn't take itself too seriously, even though there are some really dark things that are happening. But it's about an older woman who, her and her husband buy their dream home, and it's for a really, really cheap price, and they find out it's because it's haunted. Specifically around the month of September, the house starts screaming and bleeding from the walls, and there are ghosts roaming about. And our main character, Margaret, decides that she's not leaving. She doesn't care that the house is haunted. She has her dream house, and she's just gonna live with it. But she doesn't want her daughter to know that she's living in this haunted house, and her daughter decides to come and visit her because her father, or Margaret's husband, goes missing, and her daughter doesn't know that he's missing. She just knows that she hasn't heard from him in a while, and she comes to see her mom because of this, and Margaret is desperate not to let her daughter know that the house is haunted, and so she's trying to protect her from all these ghosts and things that are walking around. I think that if you are new to horror, this does have horrific things in it. There are some injuries that you see on the ghosts within this that are gruesome, and the storylines surrounding some of the ghosts that Margaret runs into are definitely traumatizing, but I think that it's palatable isn't the right word, but I do think that it's not in-your-face horror. It's not super scary, and it does have moments that are very silly and fun. So I think that this might be a good starter book if you're wanting to get into horror. Don't forget to tell us in the Discord what you guys got up to for this prompt. I would love to know what you guys have been avoiding and what you're giving a chance to see if maybe you could try it every once in a while and have a good time. Don't forget to give Cliff some love as well. I'll have his channel linked in the description. And I gotta go and try and read a nonfiction, so I'll let you know how that goes.